It has to be football. Let's ask our first in-studio guest today, Blaine Fowler, former national champion quarterback and current master of the guns in Studio B. Blaine Fowler. Blaine, which team's going to have a better season, football or basketball?
Well, if you're, you were just saying top 25 for football and win a game in the NCAA tournament. So if that's the case, and I do believe that both of those can happen, then I would have to say that would be a better deal for football, especially based on their schedule. And, And now let's do the math on this. How many teams in the NCAA tournament? 68?
68.
Okay, so if you win a game, if it's a play-in game, you're only a top 64 team. If you win your first game, you're a top 32 team if you're in that second round of the tournament.
Okay.
So if you're a top 25 football team, that trumps that. Now, if the basketball team gets to the Sweet 16, then, hey, now we're talking. But I think this basketball program this year is probably a tournament win team. And then with what they've got coming back the next year, now I expect them to be Sweet 16 or better for the next several years after that.
And that's quite the expectation for a bunch of dudes that are out in a square right now on a stool trying to hand out Books of Mormon, right?
But we know how talented that group that's out there handing out Books of Mormon are.
And they're really good.
And I'm glad we got it Books of Mormon, not Book of Mormons.
There was a great debate a couple years ago about that.
So, but I would say top 25 football season would trump a single, and I think that we'll see that. I really do. I believe that they can do it this year.
So you think the football team will have a better season than basketball because they'll finish in the top 25?
And I think we're in for a really, really fun year of BYU sports. If you're the two big sports, football and basketball, because I do think that both of those teams could be ranked this season. How fun would that be?
Oh, it'd be fantastic. I look at hoops, and it's exciting because these guys are going over to Spain right now. Hopefully they develop. But right now, football, obviously, their development needing to happen right now. What have you seen through the first week of camp that makes you more excited about this season for BYU? So
I like what the offense looks like when Taysom Hill is out on the field right now. And they just seem like they're further ahead. They're more comfortable with what they're doing. And I think that BYU, they know what they're trying to accomplish. They know who they are offensively and defensively this year going into camp, and now they're just fine-tuning what they're doing. We look forward to that opener. I think they have a huge advantage over Nebraska going in because BYU, they know who they are. They know what they're trying to do. They have the right pieces in place that fit into their offense and defense. Where Nebraska this season, they're with Mike Riley, they're running a brand new offense. They've got a quarterback that's really a square hole that they're trying to, or square peg that they're trying to fit into a round hole. And Tommy Armstrong, he's an option guy. They're trying to throw the football this year. There's a lot of transition and things for Nebraska, so I think BYU goes out and they win that opener, and then things start to roll. And so I like where they're at right now. And when I look at where they're at, I think, okay, how are they compared to who they play in their first game? I would have to think that they're ahead of Nebraska right now just because there's so much less change going on at BYU this season than at Nebraska.
The BYU defense won the headlines after Saturday's scrimmage, but is the first scrimmage of fall camp fool's gold? I mean, how much do we really read into that?
It doesn't mean much. I was actually glad to see that as I was watching it unfold because the offense, they're a lot easier to coach and correct when they have a little bit of struggle. And up to that point, the offense kind of had their way with the defense. And so now all of a sudden the defense made some plays. They knocked some balls down. Prater had a couple of really nice plays. And so there's some things that are correctable now. There was some pressure on the quarterback that now you can go back and all of a sudden now the offense, you've got their attention in film. And you can say, no, it wasn't perfect. No, you weren't just rolling over these guys. And an offense needs that sometimes to kind of check their minds a little bit to make sure they know that, yeah, you know what, there's a lot of players returning. This should be an explosive offense, but if you don't execute perfectly and you don't do everything you're taught, you can be stopped. And I thought that was good. I think it was very good for the offense to have that the defense had the upper hand in this last scrimmage. And you know what? The defense needed some confidence. They really did. And I thought that they gained some in this scrimmage on Saturday. I thought in the back end they were pretty good. We saw Nick Kurtz get over the top, but it was later. And I thought that for the most part they did what we're hoping they will do, and that is keep everything in front of them and not give up big plays. If they do that, this offense is going to be good enough to put up enough points that if the defense manages points, this is going to be a nice season. 9 wins, top 25 possibility, maybe even 10 or more.
I look at the roster on defense and I see playmakers there. I I don't see like 11 guys that I go, okay, you're the Mike, you're the Buck. There's still a lot of debate as to who's where. Is that a good thing? You want depth, but you want continuity of, okay, you're the guy, right?
Yeah,
and that's still being figured out.
You hope that by the end of camp that it's obvious who the guys should be out there to start.
That's emerging this week.
That's starting to happen, and you're getting some guys nicked up too that were playing well, like Juergens at defensive back. I'm watching him. I'm going, oh wow, here's a guy that we weren't talking about that's really coming on. That's going to be good. That's going to add depth to BYU. And then he gets a clavicle, and we haven't seen Hanneman full time, and so there's still some injury things that they're working through over the course of fall camp, and it's a long fall camp that will change what we're seeing right now come game time against Nebraska. And so right now, there's still a lot of positions that we're completely sure about. I think we know who the corners are going to be as the season progresses. I think we know who the safeties are going to be. I think we have we know that there's a lot of depth at linebacker. We're not quite sure who's going to be in there, but there's enough depth, and I think they're deeper on the D-line than they've been defensively. So, and really in that front seven, depth is important. They like to rotate guys so you can get fresh legs and pass rush. And we'll see who steps up. There's the obvious guys like Kafusi. He's a leader. They look to him. But I think they're deeper than they were last year. To me, it's about getting that depth to all be on the same page and understand what they're supposed to do on every play. Because there was talent out there last year, and this defense we all know underperformed. And it wasn't because they weren't physically gifted enough to be good last year. It was because there were assignment errors and mistakes that were made that gave up big plays and cost them in big times in games. That's what I'm looking to see fixed over the course of camp. It seemed much better to me on Saturday than it was last season. And so if that becomes a theme, okay, I'm pretty excited about this defense.
Where is the biggest point of concern on the defensive side of the ball? Is it about the lack of a vocal leader? Some guys are trying to emerge as that, namely Harvey Longy, or is it somewhere in the secondary? Where's the biggest point of concern?
I think until they're proven, it's in the secondary. So it would be nice to have a real vocal guy that's a great player, and I think that Harvey can be that guy. Kafusi's great as a player. He's just a quiet guy. He's really, really nice. And so it would be nice to have somebody emerge like that. And you kind of want it to be a linebacker, right? Linebackers are the guys that are making a lot of the calls. They're getting the front aligned where they're supposed to be. You would really like it if a backer could be the guy that could take charge, or a safety could be the guy that could take charge. So Langy's a good candidate to be that guy, but I'm not as worried about that as I am worrying about, is this secondary going to be improved over last year? Again, I think they've got the skill set. Davis and Prater, and they flopped from field to boundary, and I think that's been a good move. Prater's covering as good as anybody I've seen in the last couple years in the early part of camp. He looks great locking people down. Nakua, we know, has experience at safety. I think Eric Takanaka has impressed me. I love his body type. I think he can play with leverage on the edge and be a good run support guy. He's got good quickness. And boy, wait till you see. Have you guys seen the film of him returning kicks?
Oh, he looks great.
Oh, he's gonna be great doing that.
Snowy-led junior college.
He is so fun to watch. He can make people miss, but I'm equally excited about what he's going to do defensively. So I think the pieces are there. So I'm really excited about the skill set of these guys. They've got to prove to me now in a game situation that they're going to be where they're supposed to be. I never had that proven to me last year with that secondary. And so I need that proved to me in that Nebraska game. And if I see that, I'm going to go, okay, I don't have to worry about the secondary then. So it's mental that I'm worried about, not physical this year.
I wish I could merge, certain people's brains with certain people's bodies. Like Harvey Longy is still figuring out how to be a linebacker. The skill set is there. I wish I could put Austin Heater's 4.0, brain into Harvey Longy, and boom, you got Cameron Jensen.
Well, you got an NFL guy. You got a guy that's like he's more skilled than Cameron Jensen. He's bigger and stronger and faster than Cameron. What made Cameron so good was he worked like a crazy man, great leverage, like the guy, and unbelievable instincts at linebacker. Never took a false step. Play flowed one way, he was immediately there. He was in the hole. He knew how to scrape. He kept people off of him. He was great with his hands. And so Cameron Jensen was just such an unbelievably instinctive football player that it didn't matter that he wasn't physically as skilled as a Harvey Langy is, and Cameron Jensen was a phenomenal leader. Now, if Langy
he could play,
if Langy could learn to have the leadership skills that Cameron Jensen has, and he's new at linebacker, so eventually that just feel for the game will come. Yeah, you put Cameron Jensen's mentality and determination and leadership in Delaney with his skill set, that's an NFL linebacker. That's like an NFL for a long time linebacker.
You did this several times as a player, Blaine, the fall camp situation, the ebbs and flows of what goes in to enduring a fall camp. They just started 2-a-days. It's week number 2. What are the players feeling right now?
This is when you start to go, okay, how long are we into this now? It actually, in week 2, starts to wear on you a little bit mentally and physically. You start to get tired. In the first week, it's just all excitement. Everybody's battling for jobs. Now they're starting to settle in and get some rotations going, so you're kind of starting to see your place. And you're going, okay, can I move up? I'm running with the 3s right now. What do I have to do to move up and be with the 2s? So you start to think about what you have to do out on the field to advance yourself and to get in there so you can contribute out on the field. And so you're thinking about those things, but you're also trying to overcome the fact that it's Groundhog Day every day. I'm getting up and I'm doing the same things again. And even though they only alternate 2-a-days and singles, the days that they have singles, they lift, they have meetings. So they're there all day, every day. And you've got to manage through the monotony of that and get excited about something. So you almost have to set an individual goal every day about how you're going to get better and what you're going to do. The guys that are really successful, you talk about a guy like Cameron Jensen, we were just talking about him. I guarantee you he got up every morning during fall camp, even when he was a senior, and said, okay, what are my goals today? How am I going to get better as a football player today? If you have a whole team of those kinds of guys, that's a fun thing to deal with. Unfortunately, you don't have a whole team full of guys like Cameron Jensen. Nobody does.
Yeah, no team does.
Nobody does. Wouldn't that be nice? But the really, really good players, that's how they approach it. They approach it with, how do I get better today, every day in practice? And if guys can focus on that, then the team, by virtue of everybody individually getting better at their assignments and all that, those guys will now make the team better every day in practice, and Bronco and the staff will see continual progress through camp. That's what they're looking for, and that's how you have to approach it.
And it just takes a couple of those guys. Mitch Matthews has talked about the senior leadership they have. One guy BYU won't have, Jamal Williams. I think this is the first time we've talked to you since the news about Jamal. What impact does not having Jamal Williams have on the rushing attack?
Jamal is so explosive with the way he runs the football that defensively, you in your scouting report had to say, okay, number one objective of our defense is we got to stop Taysom Hill. So especially you can't let him hurt us in the run game. Every team's going to go into it and say, okay, if we're going to choose one thing, we're going to make him be a pocket passer, right? So that's assignment number one. Well, when you got Jamal healthy, then it's like, okay, if we control that, how do we make sure that guy doesn't make a big play on us? Because he's capable of a big play. So how do we keep him hemmed in? So you kind of have a dual assignment. Right now, going into that first game, there's nobody in that backfield that they're going, oh, okay, this is a really explosive guy. So now we build a scouting report around him too. Now, certainly they scout their running backs and the run game and all that, but it takes pressure off of defenses a little bit. So somebody's going to have to step up. And I love the tenacity and the physical play of Algie Brown. I love the change up of Nate Carter. Last year I wasn't shy about telling you guys I wanted to see that guy get more carries because he seems to be the nice change-up guy that can make people miss and maybe be a little more explosive in the run game.
He hasn't done anything to show me that he doesn't deserve the ball.
Do the coaches feel the same?
Yeah, and no, they do. And we hear him talking. Yeah, you know what? We got to figure out ways to get him in the ball.
Well, now they do with Jamal.
Yeah, with Jamal out, it's really more of an emphasis.
Before, I don't think they did.
But I think we hear them talking now that, hey, Nate Carter's going to be a more integral part of what we're doing. Adam Heeney was a solid, consistent guy too. He's big, physical. But Adam and Algie are more downhill guys. Algie's kind of a combination guy. Adam's a downhill guy. And Nate is the kind of guy, when you talk to the defenders about Nate Carter, what makes him so difficult to defend is he's small, so he's kind of lost back there. And he, from start to full speed, is only about 2 steps. And so when he's running, even if he's running downhill and not bouncing it, and you're a linebacker, if you don't scrape and not take a false step, he's right on top of you before you even realize it. And now you're sticking an arm out there. So he gets to the hole quicker than anybody else that BYU has in that backfield. And that can put a lot of pressure on a linebacking core. So I'd like to see him play more. I think, like you said, Jeremy, we didn't see anything from him last year that would say, boy, he shouldn't get the ball more. And now with Jamal out, let's see what he can do. Let's get him a few more touches. It seemed like every time he touched the football, there was at least a 7-yard gain in there.
And he's got to be good because he's the number 2 option.
Yeah. And what I also think we'll see, we're going to see this whether Jamal was in the backfield or not, because they were going to do this, is the next step in this offense is to involve the running backs more in the passing game. And so I think we're going to see that more. They're demanding that these guys, work on their pass catching skills and their route running and all that, because that will make this offense more difficult to defend if all of a sudden now you've got the running backs involved in the passing game. So I look for BYU's offense to take a step forward in that regard this season.
Blaine, let's do it again next week, shall we?
Hey, I'm in studio, which means it's got to be August. We got to be in camp.
right, baby.
And it's time to get going.
That's right.
In fact, we are this many days until BYU Nebraska.
Countdown to the Cornhuskers.
18 days.
Next time you're going to do that with us.
Okay, I didn't know what we were doing. A little coaching would have been nice, but I could have done that.
We'll send you.
I could have done
send you a PDF on your iPad. You can study the playbook.
I got it.
For next
We'll get you the
I'll got it.
harmonies. It'll all be good.
Was that harmony?
No,
no,
it
that was
wasn't.
unison.
Okay,
No.
you guys do the unison all harmonized. I don't trust you
bring
guys
it-
to
you can
harmonize.
I've been asking for a long time to bring in the men's choir at BYU and have them sing the song.
Oh, I'm up for it.
Just saying.
Maybe we can arrange it on the final day. I don't know. We'll have to look into that.
I want the whole marching band in there.
All right. Blaine, always good to have you, man.
Thanks, guys.